In this section of Module 1, we'll be discussing paleontological and geological techniques, the idea of deep time, how we frame long periods of time through the use of the geological timescale, and the basic geological and paleontological principles that we use to do what we do, which is explore the past. A preface to all this is the idea of deep time, the ability to think in very, very long periods of time. And one of the first persons to do this is Charles Darwin. We had talked earlier in the previous slideshows about some of the information that Charles Darwin now had in his head by previous researchers. The primary person doing work along this line was James Hutton. In 1788, he wrote his book Theory of the Earth when he had done some experimentations in the Highlands of Scotland on glaciers and quantified the age of the Earth in the terms of millions of years. That was quite a leap forward from the standard sort of guesstimates they were making based on biblical text of a few thousand years of age. Charles Lyell, of course, absorbed some of those arguments and defended James Hutton. And Charles Darwin was reading these arguments. As you know, Charles Lyell's volume 1 of Principles of Geology is something he read quite heavily on his voyage above the Beagle. Yet at the same time, many of these ideas of deep time were scoffed at, and even by Darwin early on. He was very much of a creationist, even into his second year aboard the Beagle in South America, until at one point there's a turning point when Charles Darwin being able to think in terms of deep time. That point was in the highlands in the Andes of Chile. On the third year of his voyage, Charles Darwin left Argentina, rounded the Cape Horn, and moved into Chile. Guides took him up into the high Andes where he discovered beds of oysters miles thick. It was amazing, thousands of feet above sea level. And just a few days earlier, he had witnessed the results of a titanic earthquake, which had displaced the land vertically 10 feet. And he put those two aspects together and realized that the Earth is actually in motion, in very slow motion, so that he could look at the landscape and realize that it is the product of what he called eons of time. Thus began his sort of engendering his thinking in deep time. And that's the only way in which he could fathom the idea and produce the idea of natural selections. Small things multiplied by long periods of time can bring about big results. Now, that's the first step that we're going to be looking at. The spot we're going to be starting at is looking at Charles Darwin's venture. This is featured in a film called Darwin's Secret Notebooks. I have a 8 or 9 minute section I took out of that, this little slice of that film, and it's right below this posting area. It's just called Charles Darwin in Deep Time. You're going to just go right to that one part of the film that discusses Darwin being in the Andes, so you can see, what he saw, and actually you can hear some of his own words, the things he actually wrote down. Following that video, we'll start out with a PowerPoint lecture that I've produced on geological and paleontological principles. These are the basic things. And believe me, once you acquire those basic things in that video, you can do about 80 to 90%, I would say, of everything a geologist and paleontologist does in the world. The rest is really a matter of experience. Once we get through that PowerPoint lecture, which I've also embedded with sound files, will be a final film for this module. And this is part 1 of Your Inner Fish, titled Your Inner Fish. There's a 3-part series we're going to be watching of Your Inner Fish. The one we're watching first is Your Inner Fish. The second one, which will be in Module 2, will be Your Inner Reptile. And the final one in the last module, which will be Your Inner Monkey. Try not to jump ahead to those films and do them one at a time because they're staged quite well for it. Additionally, wait to watch Your Inner Fish after you have looked at the film on Darwin and after you've looked at my PowerPoint lecture. Once you do that, the information in which Neil Shubin is providing you about the geology should become immediately apparent to you, so you could follow the moments that he's making these discoveries, and it should be a much more rewarding experience for you. As we get to the film, Your Inner Fish, I will begin that with a few-minute introduction, and I'm also going to finish the film with a little bit of summary about some of the things that you should have been picking up during the films, and other things which I think should be important for you, and I know for the exam purposes. All right. So I'll see you at the end of those films. Bye.